be careful. Sir, got a question. This what for? Come on. Inside the city or out here?
Just right here.
You get on my traffic stop again, I will arrest you.
Yeah, I'll arrest you right now.
Do it, buddy.
And we're going to
do it.
Charges your ignorance.
Do it, Ode.
Go for it.
In July of 2022, footage of a heated confrontation between members of two different law enforcement agencies went viral. The incident occurred in Towns County, Georgia, between local sheriff Kenneth Henderson and Hiawassee Town Police Sergeant Tracy James. In the video, the two men could be heard threatening to arrest each other during an argument over who had jurisdiction over a traffic stop. James insisted that the traffic stop occurred within Hiawassee city limits, while Henderson apparently felt otherwise. At one point, James said to Henderson, "You get on my traffic stop again, I will arrest you." Henderson responded by saying, "I'll arrest you right now."
There's cameras at Valero, and there's cameras at Napa that see you pulled out.
As if he perceived James's words as a challenge. And when James tried to explain why he believed he had jurisdiction over the traffic stop in question, Henderson told him to shut his mouth and called him a boy. As James returned to his patrol car, he called Henderson. According to local news outlet 11 Alive, the Towns County Sheriff's Office and Hiawassee Police Department had been at odds for quite some time leading up to the bizarre interaction. In the station's words, the two agencies lack an overlapping chain of command, leading to disputes like the one between Henderson and James that went viral. One source revealed that sometimes Hiawassee traffic stops occur outside the small city due to incidents that were observed within its boundaries, which could perhaps explain the cause of some of these misunderstandings. Civilians were apparently well aware of the ongoing rivalry before it caught international attention on social media. In one recording obtained by 11 Alive, Henderson reportedly referred to the Hiawassee Police Department as the enemy. Following the altercation, both agencies declined to go into detail in their comments about what had happened. The incident was reportedly under investigation, but the outcome is unclear. As of late 2024, Henderson is still serving as the Towns County Sheriff. Number 17. Felipe Hernandez. At around 5 a.m. one morning in October 2023, Officer Felipe Hernandez made contact with 45-year-old Teresa Gomez, who was sitting in her vehicle with a male passenger outside a public housing complex in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He recognized both individuals as frequent trespassers who had previously been seen on the property during after hours. When Gomez explained that she was there to visit a friend named Butterfly, Hernandez explained that she wasn't allowed to be there and ordered her out of the car.
You do it one of two ways.
I don't have to answer this.
You do.
No, I don't.
You do.
Why?
You have to provide me with your name and date of birth. That is the law. Hear me out, okay? And just be quiet for like 10 seconds.
I'm so sorry.
Okay?
Okay.
This is public housing.
Okay, I understand that.
There's rules and regulations that they sign when they first move in.
I understand that. I'm not the one breaking the rules.
Ma'am, you don't listen. You're just like Jesus Garcia.
No,
you want to
I'm not.
argue all the time, okay? But you're not listening.
Can you just give me
There's
pass
rules.
ticket and I'll go?
No, I'm not gonna do that. Let me ask you, do you have warrants? No?
Okay, no.
Do you have a valid driver's license?
Yes, but not on me. I have a picture of it.
No, it's fine. So if I run your name, you're gonna have a valid driver's license.
Yes.
Okay.
Versatility?
Jesus Garcia, be aware, I'm gonna put a warrant out for your arrest. You're back on the property when you're told not to be.
Is he gonna get arrested now?
Listen to me. Listen to me. Okay? Again, you make all the time because you don't want to listen. The judge told you, because I spoke to the judge the last time I put that warrant out, you're not to be on the property. Doesn't matter if you're in a car, okay? I'm gonna put a warrant out for your arrest. Be aware about who you hang out with, ma'am. Stand by real quick.
During the conversation, Gomez asked for permission to sit back down inside her vehicle. Hernandez said yes, and Gomez started the car and began driving away. In his efforts to stop her, the officer shot at Gomez 3 times and then called for backup and emergency medical responders. Gomez was rushed to the hospital where she died from her injuries, and Hernandez was placed on administrative leave while an investigation was carried out. In early 2024, he was charged with second-degree murder. During a press conference announcing Hernandez's arrest, Doña Ana County District Attorney Gerald Byers condemned the officer for having exceptionally subpar conduct from the very beginning of his interactions with Gomez. Hernandez has since been fired from the police department, and the murder case is scheduled to go to trial in June of 2025. In the meantime, the city of Las Cruces has agreed to pay a $20 million wrongful death lawsuit settlement to Gomez's surviving family members. Number 16. Joseph Tucker Harris. While being treated at a hospital in Jonesboro, Arkansas during the summer of 2024, 42-year-old inmate Billy Lee Corum escaped from custody. He was captured by Officer Joseph Tucker Harris and was en route back to the Craighead County Detention Center when he began behaving in a destructive manner in the backseat of Harris's police cruiser. Harris reacted to the disruptive behavior by elbowing and punching Corum, who was handcuffed and defenseless when the assault occurred. The incident was captured in a 12-minute video which showed Corum in a visibly distraught state as he tried explaining to Harris that he had ingested a bag of fentanyl, which was why he had been taken to the hospital. Corum went on to say that the fentanyl didn't show up in an X-ray and that he had difficulty convincing hospital staff that it was really in his body. Corum had ended up in the intensive care unit prior to his escape, but he had not yet expelled the fentanyl and urgently needed to return to the hospital. Instead of making a beeline for the emergency room, however, Harris pulled over, opened the car door and assaulted Corum, striking him repeatedly in the process. According to Harris's version of events, he opened the car door and found Corum unresponsive, so he performed what's known as a sternum rub in an attempt to wake him up. Harris claimed that Corum eventually woke up and was transported to the jail without further incident. Corum later complained about Harris's conduct, prompting an internal investigation. After watching the police video and witnessing Harris's actions firsthand, Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott fired him. Elliott also released the footage to the public along with a statement saying, "I'm not proud of the fact that the officer did what he did, but I'm also not going to hide it." He also turned the case over to the FBI for further investigation, and a law enforcement commission was tasked with determining whether to permanently revoke Harris's certification to work as a police officer. According to the most recent available updates, the decision-making process is ongoing. Number 15. Robert Warrington. During what began as a routine traffic stop at around 8 o'clock in the morning, on September 12, 2024, Sergeant Robert Warrington pulled over to talk to the occupants of a white SUV that was parked on the side of a busy road in Bowie, Maryland. The vehicle's owner, who preferred to remain anonymous, later told NBC4 Washington that he had pulled over to retrieve his hat, which had blown away, while his girlfriend and children waited inside the SUV. According to news reports, the man looked like he was injured and holding his stomach. As he walked past Warrington on his way back to his SUV, he also appeared to be holding a bloody white t-shirt or piece of cloth. Warrington asked, "Are you here to help her?" To which the man replied, "She's taking me to the hospital."
You here to help her? Are you here to help her?
Nah, she taking me in the hospital.
The officer then pulled his gun and shot at the man, then insisted that the civilian had a gun. In reality, however, the man was unarmed. Luckily for everyone involved, the bullet hit a passing minivan and nobody was injured, as the woman in the SUV began screaming in disbelief.
Why did you do that?
I'm sorry.
And asking Warrington what he was doing. He repeatedly apologized. In late October, a grand jury indicted Warrington, a 12-year veteran of the force, on charges of attempted second-degree murder and reckless endangerment. He's also been suspended without pay as his case plays out in court. In a statement, Bowie Police Chief Dwayne Preston said that he supports the grand jury's independent, objective process. He encouraged the public to withhold judgment on the situation until that process has been completed, and said that he released the body cam footage for the sake of transparency. Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy pointed out that it's important to remember that the man Warrington was interacting with was never under arrest or charged with a crime. Moreover, Braveboy revealed that the man has cooperated fully with the investigation into the case. Number 14. James Burke. 34-year-old Cedric Hayden Jr. and 33-year-old DeJuan Pettis were lifelong friends right up until their shared untimely demise on September 30th, 2024. The men were riding in a Dodge Durango in Warren, Michigan in a 40-mile-per-hour zone when a police cruiser rammed into their SUV, killing them both. 2 officers were hospitalized with serious injuries. The officer driving the patrol car, 28-year-old James Burke, was placed on administrative leave after the accident. He is now facing 2 counts of manslaughter, 1 moving violation causing serious impairment of body function, and 1 count of public officer willful neglect of duty. The moving violation is a 93-day misdemeanor, while the willful neglect charge is a 1-year misdemeanor, and the manslaughter charges could land Burke behind bars for considerably longer. In a statement announcing the charges, the Warren Police Department described the incident as a tragedy for all involved, and Burke as a nearly 3-year veteran of the force who previously spent 5 years working for another law enforcement agency. The statement went on to describe Burke as having an impeccable record of public service, with multiple public service awards and accolades, including a 2024 Medal of Valor for heroism in the line of duty. Furthermore, the agency claimed that Burke has no history of problematic driving or any prior incidents of concern before the deadly crash. But no amount of awards or perfect driving can take away from the pain and suffering of Pettis and Hayden's families, who have retained attorneys and are reportedly planning to file wrongful death lawsuits against Burke in the city. According to the family's lawyers, Burke was traveling at a dangerously high rate of speed when his cruiser collided with the victim's SUV. Additionally, the victims' families have condemned the district attorney's office for its decision to pursue manslaughter charges against Burke instead of murder charges. Speaking alongside family, friends, and their attorneys in November, Cedric Jr.'s father, Cedric Hayden Sr., said, "If I personally would have done that and killed 2 officers, you would never see me again other than in the penitentiary." The group went on to accuse the prosecution of trying to sweep the situation under the rug. In the meantime, Burke has posted a $1 million bond and is currently on an ankle monitor amid the ongoing case. Number 13. David Young. A police officer who was charged with driving under the influence in 2023 has been charged with the same crime yet again. During his first arrest in June of 2023, 37-year-old David Young was employed with the Seminole Police Department. He was off duty when he crashed his car in a gas station parking lot late at night. According to an arrest report, Young was waiting for a pizza when he backed into another car and passed out drunk. Police body cam footage showed Young slumped over the center console of his vehicle with the upper half of his body partially in the back seat. After getting Young's attention, a responding officer recognized him as a co-worker. When asked how much he had had to drink, Young claimed he was sober, but he certainly wasn't acting sober, and there were empty beer cans in the back seat of his vehicle. He refused to undergo a sobriety test and allegedly chose to drive intoxicated despite having plenty of friends he could have called for a ride. Young had been with the Seminole Police Department for just under a year at the time of his arrest. Needless to say, he was no longer employed with the agency following the incident. He went on to work for the Okemah Police Department, but his time there was also short-lived due to his second DUI arrest in September 2024. This time, Pottawatomie County deputies spotted Young driving his heavily damaged truck on rims with the airbags deployed. They followed the vehicle into the parking lot of a bar where Young allegedly went inside, tossed a container of Febreze over the counter and said to the bartender, "I never left. I was here the whole time." Inside the truck, the deputies found Young's police gear and several empty beer cans, including his beer-soaked radio, badge, and body camera. They also found Young's bulletproof vest, pistol, and police rifle. Young initially denied driving the truck despite being seen behind the wheel, but his truck was locked, the keys were in his pocket, and his denial didn't hold up for very long. After being confronted with the evidence, Young admitted to driving under the influence. While the Okemah Police Department didn't have much to say in response to a media request for comment, Young returned a call from local station KFOR and said that he was screwed. According to the news outlet, Pottawatomie County Sheriff Mike Booth and his deputies hope Young gets help for his issues, especially considering how much worse the situation could have turned out. At the same time, one of the arresting deputies, Andrew Browning, said that he lacks empathy for someone who puts others' lives at risk. The case appears to be ongoing. Number 12. Anthony Piercy. In a shocking tragedy that occurred at Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks on May 31st, 2014, a 20-year-old college student from Iowa named Brandon Ellingson drowned after falling out of a police boat while handcuffed. The incident began when State Trooper Anthony Piercy arrested Ellingson on suspicion of boating while intoxicated. He handcuffed Ellingson and placed a life vest over the suspect's head with plans to take him down to a field office for additional testing. But Piercy used the wrong type of life vest for a handcuffed person and was driving at a brisk speed of 46 miles per hour when When the police boat hit a wave, Ellingson was ejected from the boat and his life vest came off, prompting Piercy to jump into the lake in an attempt to save him. Piercy's efforts were in vain, and law enforcement left the scene with plans to return the next day for Ellingson's body. In September 2014, an inquest ruled Ellingson's death an accident. Prosecutors nevertheless charged Piercy with involuntary manslaughter the following year. In the meantime, Ellingson's family sued for wrongful death and was awarded a $9 million settlement. Piercy ultimately pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of misdemeanor negligent operation of a vessel and served 10 days in jail. He also lost his peace officer license, which effectively barred him from working in law enforcement as an officer or state trooper. But it didn't stop him from obtaining a job with Missouri's Department of Corrections, where he has worked as a corrections officer since 2023. When questioned about how Piercy got the job, a spokesperson declined to elaborate on the specifics of the situation but disclosed a list of basic requirements for employment which do not appear to include a peace officer license. Moreover, a misdemeanor conviction does not necessarily bar an applicant from being hired, which means that Piercy's record did not disqualify him from the position. News of Piercy's employment with the agency came as a disappointment to Ellingson's father, Craig, who told the Kansas City Star that he spent years working to prevent the former trooper from ever working in law enforcement again. Number 11. Joseph Gibson. In December 2024, 28-year-old Oklahoma City Sergeant Joseph Gibson was accused of slamming a 71-year-old grandfather to the ground over a speeding ticket. News reports state that Gibson and Lich Vu were arguing over a non-injury traffic accident when Vu touched Gibson, prompting the sergeant to essentially body slam him. Body cam footage and Vu's injuries, which include a brain bleed and a broken neck and eye socket, seem to corroborate this version of events.
I'll have to write you a ticket for improper U-turn.
Hey, you are the police.
Yes.
So you know
Okay.
how many times?
We are done. We are not arguing about this, okay?
I want to show you.
We argue in court. We argue in court.
You take the phone and...
We argue in court.
No,
we don't argue on the side of the road. We argue in court. Yes, that's how it works. Because if not, if you don't sign this, you go to jail.
According to the most recent available updates, Vu remains hospitalized. Meanwhile, Gibson has been charged with battery, an aggravated assault, and is reportedly on administrative leave amid his ongoing criminal case. In a statement, an Oklahoma City police spokesperson said, "We evaluate the law and the facts in each individual case, and in this particular case determined the officer's actions were an unreasonable use of force." Gibson's alleged use of force has sparked outrage among the region's Vietnamese community. Many people are of the opinion that in the body cam video of the incident, Vu appears to be having difficulty communicating with Gibson because he speaks limited English. It also seems like Vu doesn't understand what Gibson is saying to him in the footage, indicating that he was not deliberately being disrespectful toward law enforcement. The president of the Oklahoma City Police Union, Mark Nelson, seems to feel differently, explaining that the union sympathizes with Vu but that he harbors concerns about the potential impact of Gibson's case on other officers in the field. In a statement, Nelson said it was disappointing to see Gibson facing felony charges for actions taken in good faith while serving in the line of duty. The outcome of the case remains to be seen. Number 10. Anthony Nigro IV. On February the 12th, 2022, New York State troopers responded to a call about a man driving erratically and speeding along Interstate 90 and I-190 in Buffalo. A harrowing chase ensued, with the parties involved reaching speeds of over 100 miles per hour. The pursuit was called off for safety reasons after the suspect, 38-year-old Pennsylvania resident James Huber, struck a police car and sped down an exit ramp. A short while later, Trooper Anthony Nigro IV spotted Huber's car, stopped at an intersection, and approached with his gun drawn. He ordered Huber to exit the vehicle, but the suspect turned away from Nigro and told him to go away. Huber refused to exit his vehicle and appeared to reach for something in the center console, prompting Nigro to grab him by the sweatshirt with one hand while using the other to fire 2 gunshots. The car charged forward and crashed, then flipped onto its side. In body cam footage of the interaction, Nigro could be heard calling Huber a dumb. After the car rolled over, Huber had been fatally struck by the bullets and was pronounced dead at the scene, leading to charges against Nigro for first and second-degree manslaughter. In a statement, State Troopers Police Benevolent Association President Charles Murphy openly disagreed with the charges, stating that 40-year-old Nigro, who had previously been recognized as Trooper of the Year, had acted in line with his training and the law, and that his use of force was justified. Murphy shifted the blame to Huber, whom he accused of acting in a dangerous fashion, which put the safety of others at risk. He went on to say that he believed Nigro would be fully exonerated and that the charges would be dismissed. And as it turned out, he was correct. Following a bench trial in March of 2024, the judge overseeing the case found Nigro not guilty on all charges, and he walked away a free man. If convicted, he would have faced up to 25 years in prison. During his trial, Nigro testified in his own defense, telling the court that he feared for his life when he made the fateful decision to shoot Huber. More specifically, he stated, "I felt like I was going to get sucked underneath the vehicle. This man was going to kill me." Number 9. Blademir Viveros. In June of 2024, 53-year-old Angela Steward and her teenage son Mason were killed in Missouri City, Texas, in a collision with a police car driven by 27-year-old officer Blademir Viveros. According to news reports, Viveros was responding to a reported robbery when he struck the Steward's vehicle, which had pulled out of a Dollar Tree parking lot after failing to yield the right-of-way. The officer was speeding with his lights and siren off at the time of the crash, which killed Angela and Mason. Viveros and an arrestee who was riding in the back seat of his patrol car, Michael Hawkins, survived with injuries. Friends of Hawkins later told local station ABC 13 that he wasn't discovered until hours after the accident. According to the most recent available updates, Hawkins remains partially paralyzed and is living in a rehabilitation facility. Following an investigation, prosecutors concluded that Viveros broke protocol by failing to have his lights activated at the time of the deadly accident. He's also accused of violating department policy by responding to the robbery call when he already had a suspect in custody. Viveros was subsequently relieved of duty and arrested on suspicion of manslaughter, excessive speed, and failing to use proper emergency lighting. He was detained on $800,000 bail, which was later lowered to $500,000, enabling him to bond out. His next scheduled court hearing is in mid-December of 2024. In the meantime, both the Steward and Hawkins families have filed lawsuits against the police department. Following the fatal collision, ABC 13 attempted to obtain records clearly stating the department's policies surrounding various aspects of the incident. After having its Freedom of Information request challenged by the Missouri City Police Department, the station received a partially redacted copy of the documents it had asked for. According to the most recent available updates, reporters are still trying to obtain full transparency regarding the agency's procedures and protocols. Number 8. Alexa Palubicki. While working as a police officer in Sacramento, California, on July 11, 2020, Alexa Palubicki falsified the probable cause of pulling over a vehicle in a report about a traffic stop. According to records, the incident began at around midnight when Palubicki and her partner searched a black man's car outside a gas station. The officers found a loaded handgun and the suspect was arrested on 2 felony weapon charges along with 1 count of driving with a suspended license. Prosecutors dropped the case several weeks later due to insufficient evidence. Palubicki, who was in her mid-20s at the time, reportedly instructed her partner to file a false report claiming that the suspect's driving had caused the officers to suspect that he was intoxicated behind the wheel. By the time the charges against the suspect were dismissed, Palubicki had already fallen under suspicion for lying about her reasons for stopping the driver. Based on the information that was released to the public, it seems as though the details of Palubicki's account of the traffic stop didn't add up, prompting her superiors to investigate further. Throughout the investigation, at least 2 officers were placed on administrative leave and the homes of 2 cops were placed under surveillance. The authorities also searched officers' lockers. Based on their findings, they fired Palubicki, who was subsequently arrested in connection with her alleged crimes. In June of 2023, Palubicki pleaded no contest to 2 felony counts of submitting a false police report. Under the terms of a plea agreement, her sentencing was postponed for a year. If she did not commit any more crimes during that time period, her felony convictions would be reduced to misdemeanors. Updates on the case have not been forthcoming, leaving the outcome unclear. Number 7. Isaac Hughes. During the early morning hours of February 16th, 2022, a 34-year-old unarmed Louisiana man named Daniel Valley was shot to death by a pair of Jefferson Parish Sheriff's deputies who were investigating a noise complaint. Valley was sitting in a parked SUV outside a known drug house in Marrero when he refused to exit the vehicles at the deputies' commands, sparking a 15-minute standoff that ended with the deputies firing 26 bullets. According to reports, Deputy Isaac Hughes was the first to shoot. He fired 18 bullets in total, while Deputy Jonathan Lewis fired 8 shots. Following the incident, prosecutors charged Lewis and Hughes with manslaughter. During the former deputy's trial, prosecutor Rachel Africk claimed that Valley spent his final moments begging the lawmen to please put their guns down. She backed up her claims with body cam footage, which appeared to show Valley dropping his hands, revving his engine, and beeping his car horn before the deputies began shooting. Africk acknowledged that Valley should have complied with the deputies' commands, but that his failure to do so did not justify taking his life. On the flip side, defense attorney John Fuller urged the jury to consider how a manslaughter conviction could cause other law enforcement officers to avoid using deadly force even when doing so is justified out of a fear of prosecution for their actions. Fuller argued that by finding his clients guilty, the jury would be setting a dangerous precedent which could lead to an alarming spike in police officer deaths. In May of 2024, the jury found Lewis not guilty while Hughes was convicted of a lesser charge of negligent homicide. Hughes, who is now 31 years old, was sentenced to 3 years of probation, sparing him from any time behind bars while ensuring that he will no longer be able to work in law enforcement. Number 6. Carmen Johnson. In May of 2024, an off-duty Portsmouth, Virginia police officer was arrested on suspicion of driving while intoxicated and assaulted an officer in nearby Hampton. According to reports, Carmen Johnson's vehicle was clocked at 111 miles per hour as she barreled past at least 4 police cars that were stopped along a roadside with their lights flashing for an unrelated incident. Upon being confronted about her driving and her seemingly intoxicated condition, Johnson reportedly admitted to drinking 1 tequila and cranberry juice cocktail before getting behind the wheel. She failed multiple field sobriety tests, although an officer later admitted in court that he performed one of the tests improperly. According to court documents, Johnson was accused of intentionally kicking an officer during one of the tests. 3 months after Johnson's arrest, the judge found her guilty of DUI, reckless driving, and failure to yield to an emergency vehicle, while a felony charge for assaulting an officer was dismissed. As a result, her driver's license was suspended. She was fined $650 and she was sentenced to 10 days in jail. And perhaps not surprisingly, Johnson is no longer employed with the Portsmouth Police Department. Speaking with local station WAVY, the former officer's defense attorney William Bishop said that he would never say anything bad about the judge who oversaw the matter, but that he believed the court got it wrong in this case. Bishop went on to state that he and Johnson were obviously upset by the outcome, but you live to fight another day. Number 5. Joshua Payne. In December of 2021, Titusville, Florida police officer Joshua Payne was among several cops who responded to a 911 call about a man who was seen attacking a woman in public. While en route to the scene, he encountered 40-year-old James Lowry, who was uninvolved in the incident. Payne mistook Lowry for the suspect and attempted to question him. When Lowry ran away, Payne assumed he was fleeing due to his involvement in the reported crime and chased after him. He tased Lowry once to no effect, then drew both his taser and gun while ordering the suspect to drop an object that he was carrying. Lowry tossed an object over a fence, which was later identified as a bag of narcotics, but he disobeyed further commands to get down on the ground. With his gun in one hand and his taser in the other, Payne accidentally pulled both triggers, fatally shooting Lowry in the head. Further investigation revealed that Lowry was unarmed at the time of the incident, and Payne was subsequently charged with manslaughter. As of late 2024, the case appears to remain at a standstill, with records stating that adjudication has been withheld on the manslaughter charge. In other words, Payne has not been found guilty or sentenced. Amid the ongoing delays, Lowry's family has told the media that they hope for the case to end in a conviction as charged and for Payne to be permanently banned from working in law enforcement. Number 4. Edsaul Mendoza. Thomas T.J. Siderio was just a preteen when he was killed by a Philadelphia police officer in March of 2022. The incident began when a group of plainclothes officers confronted Siderio and another young man, one of whom was carrying a gun. According to law enforcement, Siderio shot at the officers' car as soon as they activated their red and blue flashing lights. The bullet struck the car's rear windshield, prompting two of the officers to exit the vehicle and shoot at Siderio. One of the bullets hit Siderio in the back, resulting in his death. Further investigation indicated that the fatal bullet was fired after Siderio dropped his gun and had landed face down on the ground, either by tripping and falling or perhaps as an act of surrender. Based on these findings, prosecutors charged Officer Edsaul Mendoza with murder. The state argued that Mendoza should have known that Siderio had discarded his weapon and was therefore no longer a threat to the officer's safety. In April of 2024, Mendoza pleaded guilty to third-degree murder. He was sentenced to 8 to 20 years in prison. During his sentencing hearing, Mendoza expressed remorse for his actions afterward. Siderio's family shared their disappointment over the seemingly lenient sentence, while at the same time stressing the importance of forgiving Mendoza. Number 3. James J. Keith Steward. An unexpected tragedy took one life and ruined another in October 2022 when a police officer in Tuscumbia, Alabama, fatally struck a pedestrian with his patrol vehicle. 34-year-old James J. Keith Steward was reportedly speeding, driving on the wrong side of the road and under the influence of drugs and/or alcohol when he rammed his police cruiser into 60-year-old Terry Hinton. Several months later, Steward was indicted on a reckless murder charge in connection with the incident and held without bail. In August of 2024, he pleaded guilty to a reduced manslaughter charge and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Speaking with local station WHNT after the sentencing hearing, Hinton's girlfriend, Fredia Rice, revealed that she knew Steward prior to the deadly crash. She said that she forgave Steward, but that it didn't bring back Hinton, who she described as a great man who didn't smoke or drink, always worked, loved to help others, and loved children, despite never having any of his own. Records show that Steward will become eligible for parole in 2031, but could remain in prison until October 2044. Today's topic was requested by C. Kocher 1. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. David Pearson. During what began as a routine training exercise in Pickaway County, Ohio, in April of 2024, firearms instructor David Pearson accidentally shot Lieutenant Rodney Osborne, who worked at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility in Scioto County. Osborne was a 13-year member of law enforcement and had recently been named Employee of the Year at his workplace, where he was the commander of the facility's Special Response Team. Pearson told investigators that he was doing a mirroring drill with Osborne when his gun unintentionally discharged. According to an investigative report, there are certain situations where trainees and instructors can point guns at each other, but the circumstances leading to Osborne's death did not qualify, resulting in prosecutors' decision to charge him with negligent homicide. Throughout the initial stages of the case, Pearson maintained a not guilty plea. In December 2024, he changed his plea to guilty. Pearson is facing up to 6 months in jail and a fine of up to $1,000 and is currently awaiting sentencing. Number 1. Johnny Matteo. In August of 2024, 42-year-old Lauderhill, Florida police officer Johnny Matteo was charged with video voyeurism for allegedly recording a tryst with his on and off girlfriend without her consent or knowledge. According to an arrest affidavit, Matteo had been living with the woman, who's from the Dominican Republic, for 5 months. The alleged victim believed that Matteo would help her with her immigration situation until he told her otherwise and instructed her to return to her home country. Amid the couple's strife, the woman searched for evidence that Matteo was cheating on her and discovered a video of herself being intimate with him, which she was previously unaware of. The footage appeared to be from 2 years earlier. During her conversations with the police, the woman explained that she had previously denied Matteo's request for consent to film them during intercourse. To make the situation even more shocking, she reportedly discovered a thumb drive containing images and videos of Matteo being intimate with various other women. According to a detective, Matteo appeared to position the camera in a covert fashion, prior to filming his encounter with his ex-girlfriend, indicating that he did not want her to know she was being filmed. He also allegedly told the woman to leave the room before turning the camera off, further pointing toward his efforts to keep the video a secret. Following his arrest, Matteo was freed on his own recognizance and placed on leave from his job. The current status of the case is unclear. Thanks for watching. Would you rather own a Ferrari or own a cop car and be allowed to use the siren and lights whenever you choose? And why? Let us know in the comments section below.